Welcome to the Process Podcast.
From new agent to broker owner.
My name is Travis McClure. This is my co-host, Preston Guyton. Welcome to the Process Podcast. This is Travis McClure, my co-host, Preston Guyton. Preston, how you doing today, sir?
Good, man. How are you?
Preston, I'm doing great, man. It's Friday morning-ish. We're not quite to lunchtime yet. It's been nice weather all week here in the Myrtle Beach area.
I've ran with shorts on every day.
Yeah. It's been a nice change around here. The holiday season, we're getting past the craziness of the holidays, which is always, I think, a good thing, right? Get back on your normal routine and schedule.
Yeah. I am leaving for Park City tomorrow. So I'm decided to come back to work for a week and then be gone for another week. So I'm going to get back in the middle of the month and be in really mess.
So you guys are going skiing in Utah?
Yeah, we're going. I'm going to snowboard and everybody else is going to ski. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I think they've had like 70 inches of snow the last 10 days.
That should be pretty fun. You're going to try and run while you're out there?
Yes, I'm going to be running inside.
Okay. Good.
I have to run. Like I told myself for January, I'm going to run or ruck every day in January.
Yeah.
So I'll be the guy walking around the hotel room with a rucksack on. Ruck pack.
I've seen
not a sack, right?
Yeah, sometimes people do. I've seen it, or I've been places, and people will do like the stairs. They'll put a ruck on and they'll ruck up and down the stairs of the hotel or building.
I'm going to do that, and I'm going to live stream it.
Yeah,
send it to you.
Yeah, you should. Well, topic wise, I was kind of kicking around a couple of different topics this week, Preston.
You forgot Travis.
Oh,
Travis.
So we were supposed to have the other Travis. There's an ISA manager. His name's also named Travis Havelson.
Coach as well.
Yeah, he's a coach as well. He's the younger, funner version of me.
Yeah, smaller.
Yeah,
glasses.
He's smaller. So
it would have been between two Travises, kind of like, between two firms.
Yeah. So Fun Travis could not make it this week, so you guys are stuck with old and boring Travis. Sorry about that. We will work as hard as we can to get Fun Travis on. But for today, we're gonna have boring Travis. We're gonna talk about some boring topics. No, I'm just kidding. But I want to
just made a joke.
I'm funny sometimes. So one thing I was thinking about, Preston, is hiring new employees. I know first of the year, a lot of times companies look to grow, right? You should always hire ahead of your growth. We had a new ISA start this week, and I've been working with them to get them integrated onto the team. And, always fine-tuning that approach of onboarding and helping somebody get started. I think it's so crucial to any company, even if it's, we've talked about the new agent process, but even as an employee process, that first 30 days someone is with you, I think makes or breaks that employee-employer relationship. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, you definitely have to have, just like systems in place for agents, you have to have systems in place for employees when they come on. So it's definitely, you hear it said, like, how somebody joins you is how they leave, meaning like what happens in that first 30 days is very critical and very crucial with employees and agents as well. We've seen it on the agent side a lot, more often than not on that side than the employee side. But like a lot of times the best time to recruit them is 30 days after they join a company, because a lot of times what they were told would happen doesn't necessarily happen. Like it always sounds great in an interview, and a lot of companies don't fulfill what they've told them they would do. So, a lot of times the best time to recruit somebody is 30 to 45 days after they join a company.
It's funny you say that. So my wife, who doesn't work in real estate, but she had started a new job a few months back and had a recruiter reach out to her through LinkedIn, to see if she was interested in working for their company. And she declined it. She said, "Hey, I just started with XYZ company." And then 2 weeks later, the same recruiter reached back out to see how everything was going. Yeah. And I thought that was I was like, why they reached out to you, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. You just joined and is everything you were promised happening?
Yeah. Which I thought was pretty interesting. I thought it's smart, whoever that recruiter is, that's a smart approach.
Yeah, I mean, I think we always talk about the real estate world, but that works in business world as well. It's the same thing. I mean, obviously the agents are independent contractors, but employees, especially in positions of, like the role she has is, you're not going to find a bunch of people in that role, I'm
Right.
sure.
Yeah, so my thought in that is I know we have as a company and a lot of real estate companies have put a lot of thought and work into when we bring a new agent on board, as we should, right? Is that onboarding piece intact? Do we have the teaching and training to make them successful? But do we do the same thing with our employees, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, with us, one of the things we talked about is, the Emily, the other Emily that she handles onboarding and she helps with employees as well. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I think having somebody, you know, obviously as companies grow, typically they have an HR department that handles that onboarding process for new employees and they have training set up and everything else. But you definitely, in a small company, you got to do, obviously, you're probably not going to have an, HR department as a small business,
No.
but there's companies out there that could help you with that if you need help with it. So it's definitely something that, when you're looking at growing your company, you need to make sure that you have everything in place to make those first 30, 60 days, at what they were when you interview that employee.
Yeah, and one thing like I thought of with our, Casey who started on our team this week, I blocked out his first day. I calendar blocked my whole day,
Yeah, you
right?
have
Like
to.
for him, I'm HR. You know what I mean? Like I want to get him integrated on our team, make sure he had all the tools he needed to be successful. You know, I'll admit, like years ago, my management style, I got caught up in that old school mentality of like sink or swim. They'll figure it out,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
Like, sir, but that's not a successful approach to business. It's not. It should never be sink or swim. It should be, hey, let me give this person the tools, the time, and the training, and then let them integrate into the hard or difficult parts of the job. But the other thing I'd throw out there, like if you're like, wow, that's overwhelming. I'm a one man shop, but I want to hire this, I want to hire that. There's places you can outsource that piece, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's definitely companies that, as far as help with hiring.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely companies out there you could do that. And with Casey coming on, I mean, there's a lot of, you look at that role. Could you imagine just throwing him in and saying, "Hey, figure it out"? I mean, there's so many systems, so many processes within that he has to learn, and he's obviously done a great job. But that's because you're where he's in the office with you. You know what I mean? Like you said, you spent all day with him, so he's had the training and is already making phone calls. So could you imagine just throwing somebody into that position and saying, "Hey, here you go."
But companies
Here,
do that,
yeah, no, I'm just saying,
yeah.
could you imagine doing that in that position, especially when he's talking to potential clients to hand off to agents. So
Mhm.
it's a very important position, and you're right. The companies do that and say, "Hey, here's a manual, here's some videos, and go figure it out."
Right. And there's a huge cost opportunity in that, right? Think about I'll use that one hire of this past week, the time I put into creating a ad to put it out there and find that person, spending the time of all the interviews I did, right? Because he's not the only person I interviewed, the hiring process, now getting him in here, the job's not done. Like over the next 30 days, I have to, as an employer, I have to nurture that employee to make sure they have everything they need to be successful. And I call it the time, the tools, and the trade. Three
Yeah,
T's. TTT. Time. Did I invest the time they needed so that they can learn? Do they have all the tools that they need? Does he have a laptop? Right down to, does he have a mouse for his computer? You know what I mean? Like whatever tools he needs. And then of course, training is so important. And like I said, I time blocked my whole first day. I cleared my whole calendar knowing that he was, and you know what? I didn't have him start on Monday or Tuesday because I know those weren't good days for me.
yeah,
And I purposely said, hey, you know what? Let's have you come in on Wednesday because I knew I could time block Wednesday and spend the entire day with him.
yeah,
There was no sense for me to have him come in on Monday and Tuesday and just be lost, right?
yeah,
Or
for
just
sure.
following me, right? Like I wanted to invest my entire day in that person. And then what it was by day two, because I did that, he was able to start making calls on his own. He was able to start kind of walk on his own a little bit. Matter of fact, I'm in here on this podcast right now. This is the first time he's really been kind of out there in the world on his own, but I have confidence because I've really spent the better part of my last 2 days with him
Yeah,
that I could now walk away and focus back on. So you have to treat that new hire almost like you would treat days off. Like, okay, I'm going to take a couple of vacation days to spend time with my family. Well, that new hire coming into your company, you almost have to treat them that same way.
oh yeah,
I think that's so important. And if it's not you, who?
yeah. It's got
Somebody
to be
has to.
somebody.
Yes. You can't just rely on the old sink or swim. If I hired the right person, they'll figure it out, because you could hire really good people, have that mentality, and they're just going to leave.
Oh, yeah, and then you've spent all the time hiring, all the time interviewing, all the time bringing them on, and then they leave 30 days later. And you gotta do that whole process over again, so it's not only the expense of, like you said, the salary, it's all that expense of the time that you spent, and when you'd be normally doing other things for work, you're spending trying to hire somebody new and everything else, so it's definitely the first 30 days are very important.
Yeah, and the other thing, and I've seen this, even, if you're a realtor listening to this and you say, "Hey, does this apply to me? I'm not hiring an ISA right now." There's a lot of realtors out there to hire assistants,
Yeah,
and I think that's a position in real estate, when realtors hire it, has a ton of turnover for that exact reason. They hire a person, and then they kind of just give them, "Hey, I need you to work on this task. I need you to work on that task. I need you to work on this task." What you need to do is develop. We've talked a lot about, have that system in place. And what for a realtor, it's easy. It's like, okay, what do you do when you get a buyer? You have a
yeah,
new buyer come into your system, or a new seller come into your system. Document all the steps from, all right, I'm going to meet them for the first time, all the way to contract, all the way through close. What are the steps,
yeah,
right? Same thing with a seller. And then you have steps 1 through 50 or whatever it is. Figure out which of those steps are you now going to delegate to your assistant, and now you have a system, right? They know exactly. You get a buyer, they know what you do, they know what they do. And I feel like a lot of times in the agent to employee relationship, there's not that type of clarity, and
yeah.
that's what causes people to leave.
Yeah, I mean, and a good thing to do, like when you think of that, like SOPs, when you're doing your daily tasks, there's a lot of programs out there. One's Otter AI. You could just start recording it as
Mm.
you're doing the work, just talk about what you're doing. And then you could take that same document that's created or same information put into Otter AI, then put it in a document, and then obviously you got to go in and edit the document. But that's a good way to create operating procedures, and then, when you bring somebody on, you're trying to hand stuff off, you have all those things in place. And another thing too with agents, like, there's this whole world of now, like, hiring VAs.
Mhm.
The same thing with VAs, like, you can't just hire a VA and let them float out there,
Right.
whether it's virtual ISAs, virtual VAs. I mean, there's gotta be accountability, and there's gotta be, you gotta give them the things they're supposed to be doing, because if you leave it to an individual, they're probably gonna go do something else, scroll on social media while they should be doing something. So even when you hire VAs, just make sure that that's something that's important, that you have all those things in place, so they're not sitting there not doing anything and you're paying them for it.
Yeah. What was the name of that platform to create systems?
Otter.ai.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that with the virtual assistants, because again, we always say hire ahead of the need. But you have to know what the need is,
Yeah.
right? Like, what am I hiring this person for? Like, have that in mind when you hire this person. Okay, they're going to come in and work on this. And it's been my experience as a coach, a manager, supervisor for many years. Most people want to do a good job.
Oh yeah.
Like, people come to work with the intention of, like, hey, I want to contribute and I want to do a good job. You know what I mean? Like, most people want to achieve that for you. So you have to put them in a position to be able to do that. There's surveys out there every year of, like, the reasons people leave their job, and it's never like the things you would think. It's
Yeah.
never necessarily pay is never number one. It's never those vacation time things. It's always they want to feel like they contribute.
Oh yeah.
They want to feel appreciated, right? So think about those things. Those are always usually one and two. And they usually flip flop from year to year, but make sure you're paying attention to those things when you hire new people. Of you have the ability to, number one, spend time with them when they get there. You're giving them the time, you're giving them the tools, and obviously you're giving them training, and then putting them in a position where they can contribute and
Yeah.
feel like they are appreciated for the effort they're putting in. And whether that be an assistant, whether that be a virtual assistant, whether that be an ISA, you have to have that expectation in place and those systems in place so they can then be part of that system and contribute to that.
Yeah. I mean, one thing to think about too, like, well, most people work much better if they have some type of to-do list, some type
Yeah.
of check off system,
Yep.
things they need to do. I mean, even like with me, I downloaded this app called Strides to keep up with all the things that I want to do on a daily basis. So I'm like, I'm going to use this app to send me notifications on things I need to do. So
It's like reminders of your.
yeah, use notifications as a way to get things done that I plan on, like some of them are like drink more because I'll get here, I'll get on Zooms working in here and I just won't drink water because I
Mhm.
just don't think about it. So it
Yeah.
like sends me, I mean, it's kind of sounds silly, but there's a lot of things like runnings in there. I got to run so many miles a week. There's some things like video content in there, social media posts, the things that I'm not that great at staying consistent with, which is more so for me is on the social media side of like posting content and doing those things. I even have the podcast on there that we have to do. It says one a week, but we really have to do more than that because I think I put on my commitments and goals for the year. We're doing 72. So
Seven.
maybe that's not 70G, or maybe I'll do some other ones as well, but
Yeah.
I got to do 72 podcasts in 2023, which we did 36 last year in half a year. So we should be fine.
What's your number one professional goal this year? If you said like no, like I always like to like, what's the number one thing that's at the top of mind?
Number one,
Yeah.
I really don't have a number one.
What's
I
the
mean,
keystone one then? What's the one that impacts all the others?
really is to push Easy Home Search forward, to start putting, because I put so much work, so much time, money, and dedication in that over the last couple of years to put that in a place where it's actually starting to generate revenue.
Yeah.
So really to find a salesperson, or whether you and I do that at first ourselves, and then bring on realtors that we could connect with, and then we could send leads to in as we launch the new website in May. So that's something big, and it kind of does help everything, right? So as Easy Home Search grows, Palms will grow in the market that we're in, which is Myrtle Beach and Charleston. And then it helps like Cheplack Digital as well, because then we have more clients to then sell. Like we're launching some things in February that I'm very excited about, and Easy Home Search could help us, help generate more real estate leads and realtor leads to sell some of those products too. So that's definitely for me is putting a lot more focus and emphasis on growing that, because the number I put on for the end of the year was to have 3,000 referral partners,
Right.
and in all the markets that we cover, which shouldn't be, with somebody as a dedicated salesperson that's focused on that. Once we bring that person on, it shouldn't be a hard number to hit, because we'll have a lot of incoming inbound leads just because of everything we've done with the markets we're in right now.
Yeah, I agree. That's the hinge. It's like tiny hinges, swing big doors,
Yeah.
right? That's the hinge. I agree. I think
Yeah,
that's a
but
good
it's,
focus.
but for that, as far as commitments, I shared it as well. Like for me, it's just doing what I did last year, continue, but put more, put more gas on the fire, do the same things I was doing, but just do more of it. For me is really, really important focus. And that would be, we just committed to last year on average, we did about, I think about 16 to 20 articles a month
Mhm.
on Easy Home Search. And I was with my writers talking to them about it, and committed to 408 articles in 2023. And
Okay.
I'm doing content outlines for those.
Right.
So what we're going to be doing in this year is we really want Easy Home Search to become a resource of like, so we're going to have so many real estate news articles, so many mortgage articles every single month. So that way it becomes a resource for not only people searching for homes, but if somebody wants to get like new real estate news happening now, or new things on there, there's going to be a more dedicated approach to how we have the Process podcast on there. There's going to be a lot more graphics and things pointing them to that, those pages. So it's definitely, for me, it's a lot more focus, as you could probably tell, a lot
Yeah.
more focus on Easy Home Search. And because Palms is in a good place with leadership to where
Yeah.
I could meet with them once a week and just make sure everything's going the way it needs to go.
What about that's we just talked the professional side of it. What about like personal, like self? I'm not talking family. I'm gonna get to that in a second. But like for yourself, what's your number one goal?
Really is just continue staying healthy, because staying healthy helps so many different things from, because we have so much going on in business, so much going on in family. If I continue to stay healthy, it helps everything. So, for me, I had the commitment of, I think 180 weightlifting workouts this year, and then run 800 miles, and then did at least two half marathons.
Good.
potentially 3, or maybe a full at the end of the year. But, right now it's 2 half marathons is what I wrote down, and, just continue doing that.
Good.
Yeah.
And then so we got business, self, relationships. We'll talk about like what kind of family goals you have this year.
So on that, I actually, I put all this stuff in my commitments and
Yeah.
my calendar and everything else. Yeah, it's 4 family vacations.
Good.
And continue to do what I do. Like I don't miss any unless I'm out of town. And going to an event or speaking or whatever. But if I'm in town, I don't miss any sporting events. So, my calendar every day, I get up at 4 a.m. And for the most part, my last coaching call, I take at 4, so I'm done by 4:30. If I'm done by 4:30, I'm not gonna miss any. In the spring, I'll have to, some days because my son golfs, he starts at 3, so those days I'll block it off at 3. But it's just continued being present, being present in their lives because, from early on, that's something what I always wanted to be was, be there when they had the sporting events, and my daughter does theater and has plays and everything else, just
Yeah.
making sure I'm present in their life because we only have so long, and it's you blink your eyes and they're 5 years old, and then they're 10 years old,
Yeah.
and then they're out the door. So just taking advantage of those moments.
Yeah. And I asked those questions. I asked it in that way because a lot of times I'll ask agents or just people about their goals or whatever. And they'll tell me their business goal,
Hmm.
or their business goal, business goal. The other two pieces, that's what creates like the balance of your life, right? Like you have to take care of yourself,
Oh yeah, for sure.
and then you have to nurture your relationships.
Yeah, and for me too, it's being involved in church as well.
Yeah,
My kids use it when they don't have sporting or other things going on. They go to Wednesday at our church and do stuff within that community. I started doing daily devotionals this year.
good.
My mother-in-law actually got me a daily devotional book, so start been doing those, and that's on my phone, right? So on my phone it says 4 a.m. coffee, workout, and daily devotional, and then it's got a reminder. I have the reminder set in the app Strides I downloaded at 4:30 to send me a reminder if I haven't done the devotional, and then I got gratitude. One of them's as well. It's like daily gratitude, just things you don't think about. Like you get so caught up in the world of, hey, I got to do this, got to do this. I'm behind on that. But take a second and realize and talk about to yourself what you're grateful for. Because at the end of the day, if you look at it, most people, no matter where you're at in your life, there's got to be something, that's happened that you're super grateful for.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I always think about it like this: it's the opposite of gratitude is resentment,
Yeah.
right? And it's very easy to be resentful. That's when I like when I start having those negative thoughts about this or that, then I'll pause and be like, just name 3 things like
Yeah.
think about 3 things I'm really grateful for in a moment. And that if you're grateful, you can't be resentful, is what
Yeah. For sure.
I always
Yeah.
say. But
Yeah, and this month I'm listening to the new Goggins book, Running. So that's been on constant stream in my head every day.
yeah, never
Yeah.
finished. I really enjoyed his newest book. I thought it was I don't know, it kind of spoke to me being a 40 plus year old. That his first book,
Yeah.
Can't Hurt Me was outstanding, but I feel like his second one, he talked more about the later part of his life. I mean, he kind of went back and forth a little bit, but um,
Yeah, I'm on the part where he's interviewing his mom.
yes,
In between. So if you've never listened to the Audible book, it's amazing audio book. In between each chapter, he does like a podcast where he like goes back and forth, and
hmm,
this one is pretty deep because he's
yeah,
interviewing
heart
his
wrenching.
mom.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm just like, man, I'm all bawling running. Somebody's gonna think I'm something wrong with
I
me.
had the same experience. I was running, listening to that, and
I
I was
was
like,
like, man, I started tearing up. I was like, man, I gotta.
yeah,
But it's a really good book, man.
yeah,
I'm gonna probably play it again when I'm done, just
hmm,
because every day I'm running or rucking this month, not this year, this month, and is going to put about 25, 30, 35 miles a week,
yeah,
um, because I have the first half marathon is March, and in December I didn't have a very good December running. I mean, it was really cold, and
yeah,
obviously it sounds like that's an awful excuse, but, everything else going on, I just didn't run the amount of miles I planned. I still ran, I still probably ran 10 to 12 miles, 15 miles a week, but
Yeah.
it wasn't. So I want to triple that in January.
Yeah. Yeah. That book is outstanding. And that same chapter, yeah, if you know David Goggins' story at all, he had a very traumatic childhood, went through a lot of abuse along with his mom from his father. And I guess when he wrote his first book, his mom didn't want to talk about that a whole
Yeah.
lot. And
No.
then she agreed to let him share more as she's gone through her journey with it all and in life. And she actually, in between one of the chapters, David Goggins interviews his mom about her experience, and to listen to what this woman went through and how she overcame it. It was very powerful.
Oh yeah,
It
and her
like,
and her
yeah,
voice is kind of similar to his as
yeah,
well. Just kind of, I mean, it just, it's yeah. You could just they talk about they talk about things that happen in the three different perspectives. I think he was 8 or 9 when he left there,
hmm,
but
yeah,
how like he has his own perspective, his mom has her own perspective, and then his brother has his own perspective. So
right,
which is like any kind of big accident. You look at a big accident, talk to 10 different people, they're going to see 10 different things. So,
yeah.
because you can't see it all.
You know where that, and I'm not gonna get too deep on this podcast, but I'll tell you where that like struck, like when he talked about the different perspectives within his family dynamic. Everybody in life, I don't care who you are, you go through something in life,
Oh, yeah.
right? There, no family is perfect. You always have these challenges in families, and it made me think about my own family, how different things happened, and it gave me a lot of empathy towards siblings and parents. Were thinking about what they had, though we were all in the same house, we all had different experiences,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And that's where that book kind of, and it just challenged me to say that, like, if you're listening to this and you hear that, whatever you've gone through in life in your own family, think about, even though people in your own house grew up in the same house, they had a different experience
Oh, yeah.
from you. So it's a outstanding book. I'd recommend reading or listening to both his books. They're just good, very very inspirational, very motivational.
It'll keep you running.
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah,
trying to, I was trying to get, because, obviously going every day is a lot between
you're running every day.
running or rucking every day in January.
Just listen to your body, man. Like, I don't run every day.
I'm not
Yeah,
running every day. I'm just,
yeah,
yeah, I'm good. I'm not going over. Don't worry.
yeah.
I'm gonna be good.
Don't overtrain. I'm Preston's fitness consultant as well sometimes, but
Yeah,
uh
so I just gotta, I wanna break the 2 hours in
good,
March.
good. That's a good goal to have.
So I'm trying to I figure if I get about 10 pounds lighter, it'd be a little bit easier.
Yeah, 10 pounds makes a big difference. I don't know if somebody was asking me about it not long ago. They asked me if they lost some weight, would it make a big difference? I said, yeah, go to the grocery store, pick up a 10-pound bag of sugar, and now try running around with it.
Yeah.
It's not
But
easy.
no.
That's essentially, you're talking about, hey, if I lost 10 pounds, would it? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's a guy I follow on social media. I've done a few of his coaching programs. His name is Nick Bear, Bare. He owns
I
a
think I read it. Does he have a book?
yeah, he has a book.
Yeah,
It's called
yeah,
25 Hour.
yeah.
He owns a company called BPN, Bear Performance Nutrition. Anyway, he has this whole hybrid athlete program. He focuses on strength, but then he's run marathons and ultra marathons, and he had a goal of running a sub 3 hour marathon, which that's a pretty elite marathon time. And then he achieved that, and then he wanted to run, I think it was below 250 to 2 hours and 50 minutes. And he lost something like, I don't know the exact number. I want to say it was like 30 to 40 pounds during his marathon training. And he was a big, like, muscular guy.
Yeah.
He didn't have, I mean, this isn't body fat. I'm saying he like lost muscle mass.
Did he do it?
Yeah, he ran out. I'm not like fact checking this, but I want to say it was like a 2 hours and 48 minutes, something like that. He did. I know it was the Buffalo Marathon this past year. He's a good guy to follow. Like, if you're into fitness and nutrition, he does a lot of different. He always, what I like about him is he sets different goals. He says, okay, now I'm going to do this. And then he like takes you through his journey of like training for this, whether it be the marathon. Like right now, he's actually training for a bodybuilding competition.
Oh,
So
wow.
he's doing like this is post marathon. He's run multiple marathons last year, right? So he's lost a lot of muscle mass. So then he went through like this bulking phase, and now he's gonna, I guess in March or sometime, he's gonna then start his cutting phase. I don't have an interest personally in doing that, but I think it's cool how he he sets a goal. He says, "Hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing it," and then he takes you as his social media audience through that journey, and he
Yeah,
does
I
a
mean,
really good job with it.
yeah, and it's his business, right? So
Yeah,
that's how he makes money. I think I did some. He had some like stretching programs for runners or
yeah,
something.
really good actually. Yeah,
I was doing some because I do not do a good job of stretching as much as I should.
I do his strength and running uh workout. Like I purchased it through an app called Playbook. It's
Hmm.
like a fitness app. And then he has a whole marathon prep program. And I like his stuff because I also like to weight train and run. There's not a I mean, it's gotten a little more popular recently, but um a lot of your marathon prep programs have you like kind of just running.
Yeah,
This gives you like the best of both worlds. So
yeah. I mean, it seems like a majority of the ones now have some
some
cross training in there as
yeah.
well, because you need the strength, and that's part of the ruck where I'm switching it up because to me the ruck is almost like because I'm only doing 3 or 4 miles, so it's not like I'm doing an 8 mile ruck, which obviously would be a lot more difficult. But I just want to keep moving, and it's adding some strength because I carry a 30 pound, 30 pound, 40 pound, typically 30 pound, just because I want to carry 40 pound at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
So, but it's and to do it under 15 minutes, so that's like I think I did it yesterday. It's like 12 and a half, 12:45, something like that. So
Yeah, it's a good pace, rocking. Yeah.
it's but you have to run, you're not
Yeah.
running, but you're jogging. Like you're like you said, I think you said it is like you jog half a mile and you ruck the half a mile.
In the Army, we call it the airborne shuffle.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
But you're carrying 80 pounds instead of 40 right
Yeah,
now. So yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
no, I wouldn't be out there running with 80 pounds on my back.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a tough pace. Anything under 15-minute mile, if anybody listening to this has ever rucked, it's a great rucking to prep you for running is actually great because it helps you build like that aerobic base and you're not running too fast because your heart rate's elevated, you're building the muscles in your legs. It's actually less stressful on your joints than running.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
why like I wouldn't run every day this month.
Yeah.
I said either I'm going to move at some point, whether it's walking, running, or ruck. So for me, it's the ruck. I'll probably do that 3 days a week and then run 4 days a week.
Hmm.
And just see how I feel after Jan. I'm not going to do that in February. Obviously, that wouldn't be smart to do going into a half marathon.
No, I would say mid-February. Yeah, you start kind of scaling down. Like for me, see, I have all my runs mapped out all the way to I'm running the same race you're running. I'm doing the full, and
What's the time?
March 4th.
No, what's the time?
Oh, I'm shooting for
Yeah.
3 hours and 15 minutes is what I'm shooting for. I'm running 2 marathons. My one after that, I'm going to shoot for a 3:10. So
What's Boston? You have to get to.
for my age, right? It's based on your age group. You have to be under 3 hours and 10 minutes for a guaranteed qualify. Yep. So I'm running 2 races this year that would qualify for Boston if I was able to get them to that time. That'd be for me, like for my personal best, that'd be a pretty fast marathon.
Yeah, that would be fast.
And you got to think, I run that time, that pace, that half marathon we did. I ran that pace,
Yeah.
and that was pretty much to my limit. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's
so times that by 2.
yeah, what is that? 7 minute pace?
That's around that. Yeah. To get on a 3:10, yeah, you're like, I want to say it's like a 7:07 pace. I don't know exactly. It's somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah.
Which I can do in a half marathon. I've done in a half marathon. I've never done that in a marathon setting. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm running Myrtle Beach, and then I'm running in the Lincoln, Nebraska marathon in May.
Is that one flat?
No. Myrtle Beach is flat.
Yeah, Myrtle Beach is flat.
Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm actually running I've talked about before, I served in the Army National Guard. It's sponsored by the National Guard, and they pick soldiers from each state to go out there. So I'll be representing South Carolina, me and 3 other soldiers from the state. And no, that one's Nebraska's at some elevation. There's some hills. And then I was looking at like weather, like literally, I'm pretty sure it could like potentially even snow in May in Nebraska. So it would be interesting to say the least. I think Myrtle Beach is a great one. If you're looking to run a qualifying time, Myrtle Beach is super flat.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of people come here for, that's why our marathon is so popular. A lot of people come here because, you can run this time and use it as a qualifier to
Could
get
be
into
thousands of
Boston.
people here, right?
Yeah, I think they average, I want to say it's like 5 to 6,000
Yeah.
people here. That's because they run the marathon, the half marathon, and then traditionally they also do a 5K. And it's pretty cool. So the marathon and the half marathon, they start on the same course and then they kind of deviate about halfway through. And it's cool when you come down Ocean Boulevard, or I'm sorry, Business 17 here. They have that closed off, and you're like in this just this crowd of runners.
So
Like,
it's not the same. It's not the same route that we did for the half.
no, it's actually like the opposite direction
So that do they run? Do you run on bypass or no?
for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you start, if anybody's listening, they know the Myrtle Beach area. You start where for this marathon in March, you start where the Pelicans play.
Mm-hmm.
You start and finish there. So you come down like Grissom Parkway onto Kings Highway. You go up through the Market Common, down like that Farrell Parkway. You turn around and then cross over, and then you're on Ocean Boulevard for a while. No, I don't think this one you go on the bypass at all.
Yeah. Well, Grissom is where we ran, actually. It
Yeah.
wasn't the bypass, it was
Yeah.
Grissom.
But you're essentially like running the opposite direction of the other one pretty much the whole time.
So does the half marathon end at the same place?
It does. So what happens is that route I just described, you're together with the full marathon people through all of that. And then when you get to Ocean Boulevard,
Like mile 7?
no, it's like mile 12.
Oh, wow.
All the half marathon people, they're going to finish, and the full marathon people have a whole other race to go. Yeah. So
you might be running that and see people taking a right.
Yeah.
And that'll be that one, like Goggins talks about, that'll be that 1 second decision that you got to make.
I actually missed a turn on a race one time. Ever tell you that story?
No.
I was running. It wasn't anything crazy like David Goggins, but it was like a 5K a couple of years ago. I used to run a lot of 5Ks when I got back into running, and I'm a pretty fast runner on those short distances. So I used to run for like PRs. Like I would go out there and just run. Like I'm not like casually running. I'm like running as fast as I can. And it was a race that had a ton of turns. It was over at Barefoot Landing, and the way the finish line was, like, it was basically like a Y in the path. So you were supposed to go left to finish the race. That's where the thing was where you got your time recorded. But there was like a right. And now, like, I'm a pretty fast runner. So I'm out in front. Like maybe there was 1 or 2 people ahead of me. And I think maybe they made the same mistake. So I'm not like around other runners. So I'm like trucking it. I have headphones in, right? And I guess a few people tried to holler or something. I was going the wrong direction, and I just totally didn't miss it. So yeah, this race where I probably had like a PR time at the time for my 5K, I'd never finished. I totally never crossed the finish line.
How long did you run the wrong direction for?
Till the end of the race. I got to where I thought the end of the race was. So I like took off. Like, if you know Barefoot Landing, it's like where like Taco Mundo, you know what I'm talking about? There's like a little Y where you can go down towards like where the water is. Yeah. Where you go this way, and it's like you're towards like a parking lot. And so I got to where I think it was like where the race started. There was like some inflatables. So I crossed that thinking I finished the race, and I'm looking around. There's nobody there. I'm like, this is really weird, because normally you finish a race, there's people handing out medals, waters, bananas, whatever. So I get to the end of this race, and there's like nobody. It's funny because my wife normally comes and watches my races. She loves it. She gets amped. For some reason, she couldn't make it to this race. It was like the one race my wife didn't come to. This happens, right? So I blame that. Anyway, so I get to what I thought was the finish line. There's nobody there. And then it took me a couple minutes to realize I never crossed the finish line. So at that point, what are you going to do? Like go back? And
yeah.
So I was like, so technically I've like never finished this race. The clock is still ticking.
Disqualified.
Yeah, I was disqualified. And I definitely would have won my age group. I know that for sure. I wouldn't have won the race, but yeah, it was disappointing.
Oh, well.
Yeah. I will say this, though. The race director, it was a Run Myrtle Beach race, and it promos. Her name is Dawn. I don't know if you've ever met Dawn, but I ended up talking to her afterwards and told her a story, and she felt so bad. She actually gave me like a gift certificate to run a free race. And to this day, every time I see her, she picks on me, but like she knows I'm registered for a race. She'll send me like a direct message on social media, make sure I have the map. She laughs. She thinks it's so funny.
That is very funny.
But yeah, that's my story of messing up and missing it happens.
Yeah, it does. It does.
I learned my lesson.
Yeah. Especially in a race, there's not a whole lot of people in it, or you're out front.
Yeah. I've run.
That's what happens when you shouldn't run so fast.
Yeah. Well, I actually, my two takeaways from that is to, even though you use headphones, make sure you can still hear,
Yeah.
right? And the other thing is take a look at the map, like know where you have to finish.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Yeah, those the over the ear headphones are those are really good. You
yeah, I
said
bought those because of
yeah,
you. What are they called? Shocks.
shocks, yeah.
It ends with a Z, right?
Shocks, yeah,
Yeah.
YZ, something like that.
So cool part about those headphones, Preston recommended them to me, and I got them recently. I love them. They're so if a lot of people use like AirPods that kind of like sit in your ear. And my problem with those, sometimes they tend to get loose and you constantly have to like fix them, but they also block out like sound around you.
Yeah.
And I don't
They
think,
make my head hurt too.
yeah, and like long term, I feel like that's not good for your hearing. These kind of like sit on your ear as like a little speaker, like outside of your
Yeah, it's
ear.
right in front of it. Sits
Yeah.
on the bone right there.
And it's interesting too. They like, have you listened? You don't listen to a lot of music when you run, right?
But they vibrate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to yeah, so I'm listening to the every time usually I'm listening to Audible book, but sometimes like I'm flying, I'll put them on and listen to watch a movie or whatever. And it's like I'm like, I don't know if I really like that part.
Yeah, I wore them to the gym. I'd only wore them running, and like you, I listen to audiobooks when I run. But if I go to the gym, I like to have music.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I just like the music and I had them on for the first time, and it's like it took me like a couple minutes to get used to the vibration on the outside of my ears.
Yeah.
Well, it felt a little funny, but I do think long term they're probably much better for your hearing.
Yes. Yes. And you could still hear somebody chasing you.
Yes, if someone said, "Hey, you're going the wrong direction," I would hear them in the future.
Yeah.
So.
All right, man. Well, I think that's wraps it up, doesn't it?
Yeah, interesting episode. We talked about a lot of different things. The 3 T's is what I'll just recap and say. If you hire a new employee, create that time, like time block that for whether it be half a day, a full day, spend that time with them. Then make sure they have the tools, make sure they have the training. If you've supplied those 3 things, people should be successful if you've hired the right person.
Yes.
So, all right, guys, have a great rest of your day. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.
See ya.